Hello everybody, it's Sarah and sorry for not uploading this week. I was sick. So yeah, I'm still not 100% over my cold. I still have a stuffy nose, I still have a sore throat, which is why you might get me be a little bit more toned down in this video, although you know, I have some videos where I'm very toned down, I have some videos where I'm not toned down, and it has nothing to do with being sick. But anyway, what I wanted to say is I was sick, I am better now. Let's get into the video. So today's video is the last TBR of the year, which I am just going to ignore. I'm just gonna call it my December TBR for 2021. And this TBR is, gotta be honest, 90% either new releases from the end of November and the beginning of December, or rereads. And as always, I'm gonna just start with rereads. The first of those I have is Kushils Avatar by Jacqueline Carey, which is the third book in the Kushils Dart trilogy. And this is the last book, obviously, I have to reread in this trilogy before I can jump into the other trilogies set within the same world, which I would like to do maybe in 2022. And this series, starting with Kushils Dart, follows Phaedra, who is a courtesan spy. Basically, she was born into the night courts, where she was educated in the fine arts of seduction. And then at some point, she was bought by someone who furthered her education in politics, and who uses her and the patrons she has access to further his own goals within politics, and mostly to support the throne. And so yeah, that's basically the starting point of the trilogy. I'm now at the third book. I really enjoyed my reread of the second one. If I remember correctly, the first time I read it, the first two books I read really quickly, like in a day each of them, and it took me a while to get through the third one. So I'm gonna be interested to see if that's the case this time as well. Then I'm gonna finish my Cosmere reread of 2021. This year I joined the Crab-along, which was a year-long Cosmere read-along. Now there's only Rhythm of War left. I mean, technically I still have to finish Oathbringer, because at the time of filming this video, and probably also when you're seeing it, I'm still only halfway through Oathbringer, so I might drag that into December with me. But as a whole reread, I only have Rhythm of War. This is the only book in the Stormlight Archive series that I have not reread previously, obviously because it only came out last year. And so yeah, I'm gonna be excited to see what I think of it this time, especially since this time I do intend to take a bit more time with it. Last year I read it in 24 hours. I will leave that vlog down below, I think, if you're interested, because wow, that was a ride. I think I actually had 2 parts of the vlog. But yeah, not gonna tell you what the Stormlight Archive is about, because way too complicated. All you need to know is it's a 10 book, or it's gonna be a 10 book epic adult high fantasy series. And yeah, it used to be one of my favorite series, one of my 2 favorite series before this year, and now it has slipped to, I don't know, rank 8, 9, 10, somewhere around there on my list. So yeah, gonna be interested to see how I feel about rereading this, because so far all 3 of the Stormlight Archive books that I've reread this year have been worse than my previous reads. So yeah, gonna be interested to see if that's the case with this one as well. Next I have 2 maybe rereads. I'm not really sure yet if I want to really do them in December or if I want to drag them with me into the next year, and those are Belladonna and Bridge of Dreams by Anne Bishop. These are the second and third book in the Ephemera duology trilogy. It's kind of a duology, meaning the main arc is finished after Belladonna. However, we do have Bridge of Dreams, which then is a bit more of a spin-off, to be honest, following one of the side characters from the other 2 books. And within this series, it's basically set in this world where your personal feelings, wishes, fears can influence the landscape around you. And you also have women called landscapers who can keep the world from constantly transforming too much and reacting too much to the wishes and fears of its inhabitants. However, there's this being called the Eater of the World, and he can use the fears of people and transform them into even worse nightmares and bring the world to, you know, manifest those nightmares. And he was imprisoned a long time ago, and now he might be free again. Basic setup of the series, and yeah. It's the last two of Anne Bishop's books that I need to reread for this reread that I did of all her books that was more spontaneous than planned, to be honest. So yeah, we'll see if I'll get to them in December or if I'll wait until next year. Next, let's talk about the new releases that are coming out or have recently come out that I possibly want to get to in December. I don't know if I'll actually get to all of them. The first of those, which I am the most excited for, is The Liar's Knot by M.A. Carrick. This is the second book in the Rook and Rose series. I'm currently rereading the first book and just enjoying it so much more than the first time around, and I already enjoyed it enough to give it 5 stars on my first read. So, you know, I'm loving a lot, very excited for the second book. In this series we follow Ren, who is a street urchin, or she grew up as a street urchin. She now is a con artist, and she has returned to the city where she grew up in, and she is trying to pull off her biggest con yet, which is to make her way into one of the noble families and to be accepted as one of the members of the family, so she doesn't have to worry about money ever again. So that's the story of a main character, and then there's also a bunch of side plots, including politics, a vigilante, then also a crime lord. So yeah, there's just a lot of amazing elements in this series that I enjoy a lot, and I cannot wait to get to book 2. Another sequel I have is The Untold Story by Genevieve Cogman, which I believe is the 8th book, the 7th or the 8th book, but I believe it's the 8th book in the Invisible Library series. The Invisible Library series follows Irene, who is a librarian spy. What this means is she works for this kind of organization entity in between different alternate universes called the Invisible Library, and they send out their librarians to the different alternate universes that are, some of them, you know, are alternate historical timelines, some have more magic, some have more technology, some are in the future, in the past, whatever. And those librarians get sent to those different alternate timelines to steal unique books and stories. And so Irene, being a librarian, that is basically her job, and doing that she, you know, encounters troubles quite often. And so I really enjoy this series. I do have a review of the books up to book 6, I believe, so I will leave that link down below and up there. But basically this is just one of those series that I just have a lot of fun with and that I really enjoy, where there's some things you can really dig into, other things that are more surface level enjoyment. And so yeah, really excited for book 8. Then the last 2 new releases I want to get to are 2 finales to YA series, which I gotta be honest, there's an element of me that is gonna more read these books because I'm a completionist and because they're both finales, rather than because I'm still really excited for the series and really into the series, because as we all know, I'm just not that much into YA anymore. But anyway, the first of those 2 is the Excalibur Curse, which is the 3rd book in the Camelot Rising series, which is an Arthurian retelling series where we follow Guinevere, except she's not really Guinevere, she's a changeling who has been planted into Camelot kind of by Merlin. And so yeah, I did enjoy the first 2 books. There were some queerbaity things that don't seem to be happening, so gonna be interested to see how the 3rd book ends. Gotta be honest, don't remember whatsoever what happened in the 2nd book, but whatever. I'm still gonna finish this series because I'm a completionist. The same kind of goes for Girls of Fate and Fury, which is the other one. I really enjoyed the first book when I read it. I think in 2019 was when it came out, or maybe even 2018. I don't remember, because I think it's been quite a while since the 2nd book. Well, whatever. I didn't particularly like the second book, gotta be honest. I was a bit disappointed with it. So I'm definitely gonna be interested to see how I feel about the third book. This series, it was quite hyped when it first came out, so I don't think I really have to explain what it's about, but let me just quickly summarize it anyway. In this series, you basically have different castes of people. You have humans who are the lowest caste, you then have kind of half demon kind things, and you have demons. And so the Demon King every year asks for 12, I believe they were called paper girls, and I believe they were 12. I'm not 100% sure about that yet. Paper girls to become his concubines for that year. And our main character is of course chosen as one of them, and she's brought to the palace, and that is where the story starts. So yeah, gonna be interested to see, as I said, how I feel about this last one in the series, but I definitely do want to finish it. So before I forget, let's also talk about the last book that I don't have physically here yet, and that is Dark Apprentice by Val Neal, I believe the author is. This was the book that was chosen for December for my book club of Queens, Witches and Valkyries, and that book club is all about reading adult high fantasy written by women or genderqueer folks. And yeah, every month I upload a poll for the next month, and you can then choose among 4 books which of the books you want to go and read in the next month. And for December, Dark Apprentice was chosen. I just randomly saw this cover on book Twitter and really fell in love with it, so that's mostly why I put it on the poll. So I don't know a lot about it. I believe it's about a mentor-student relationship. I believe there might be some necromancy involved. Like, I don't know, to be honest. I believe also the author is neurodivergent. Like, I believe they are autistic. I'm just saying they because I don't remember if they go by she, her pronouns or they, them pronouns. But yeah, so there's a lot going on with this book. So I'm gonna be very excited to see if the story for me holds up to the cover. So yeah, that was the books that I don't have here yet, aside from the ones from my TBR jars. So now let's get into the last few books that I do have here. First, let's talk about the last 2 books I have to read to get to my TBR 0. First, I have Conte Illygiant du Pays Breton by Jan Brequillien. And this is, as I have mentioned every time I held this book up, it's a collection of legends from Brittany in France. And yeah, the reason why I haven't picked this up yet is because it's in French, and that scares me once again. So yeah, still gonna read this, gonna get to my TBR 0, which is very exciting. And then the other book I have to read to get to my TBR 0 kind of is this collection of Grimm's fairy tales, which is the complete collection. This holds all hundreds of the fairy tales that the brothers Grimm collected and wrote down. Usually collections only have the most famous ones, or you know, the most famous ones that are the Disney ones, and then some others as well. But this one holds all the fairy tales, also a lot that I haven't heard of before. I did, as you can see right here, start this earlier this year. I'm about 130 pages into this 950 page book. So yeah, gonna be excited, but fairy tales are a fast read anyway, so I'm not too worried about this being quite chunky. The next thing I want to do is pull a book from my random TBR jar, which is the TBR jar that holds the entirety, or the entirety at the time I made this TBR jar, of my Goodreads TBR, and it's basically just for me to pull a book to see if I'm still interested in reading this book, if I even still know what this book is about, and oops, there's something just fell out, and to see if I'm motivated to read this book, to just, you know, remind me of the plethora of books that I just put on my Goodreads TBR jar without really checking whether I will want to read them a year from now or whatever. So yeah, the book that I pulled from my TBR jar is Dread Nation by Justina Ireland, and I still remember this. If I remember this correctly, this is an alternate Civil War like urban fantasy, historical fantasy book with zombies. I believe that was it, and I don't remember if it was YA or adult, but I believe it was YA. So yeah, gonna read this. I heard some good things about it from some people, but I haven't seen a ton of people talk about it. So yeah, we'll see if I enjoy it or not, but I do think that I'm gonna read this in December. So now I just have one book left and then my series TBR chart. The book that I have left to talk about is The Veiled Throne by Ken Liu. I originally had this on my November TBR, but I got it quite late and then I didn't feel like starting this 1K page chunker of a book. This is the third book in the Dandelion Dynasty, in which we follow two characters who are part of a kind of uprising against this big empire. And those two characters are the exact opposite of each other. And yeah, it's kind of hard explaining what this series is about because it's quite big in scope as well. So I will leave it at that summary. But I really enjoyed the first two books, and so I cannot wait to jump into this bad boy. And now the last thing we gotta do is pull a book from my series TBR jar. In here I have all the unfinished series on my shelves that I still intend on finishing, and every month I pull a book from this TBR jar to then read the next book in that series and sometimes even finish the series. So, oh, I think I know what this is, possibly? I don't know. Oh, it's the Lady Trent series by Marie Brennan. I actually didn't know what this was. So this starts with A Natural History of Dragons, which I read earlier this year. I think the second book is A Tropic of Serpents, if I remember correctly. And basically this is an alternate Victorian history where we follow this explorer, this scientist, this person, Lady Trent, who wants to know everything about dragons, and so she goes on multiple expeditions to research dragons. So yeah, really enjoyed the first book, really enjoyed the character of Lady Trent, and cannot wait to continue on with the series. I already have the third book on my shelves, but I haven't gotten the second book yet. So yeah, excited for this one. So that was it for my December TBR, for my last TBR of the year, which I hate so much. So once again, we're gonna ignore that. If you have any thoughts on any of the books that I just mentioned, leave them in the comments down below. If you're interested in buddy reading any of the books with me in December, also leave a comment down below. I'm always very much open to buddy reads. If you enjoyed this video, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing. All links to my social media as well as to my book club are also of course linked down below. So if you want to join us reading Dark Apprentice, join us over on Discord. And with all of that said, I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!